How's it going, everybody? Obviously not, a result that we would want, but maybe one that we could expect, given the team we were playing. Was excited, hoping that we could show off the fun new ECH dance party stuff that we had talked about last time, and I've got all planned and ready to go in the system, but not tonight. We will wait for the next Kraken win. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason the Lightning are the defending back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. All loads of good players. Victor Hedman was great tonight. Corey Perry doing his thing. Sorry, I respect what he's able to do over the course of his career. It's been pretty remarkable, but it does suck when it happens to your team. Stamkos, Kucherov, both amazing tonight. Some interesting stuff, obviously, going on with the Kraken. Yarncroke traded Geo. Trade must be imminent, given that he didn't play. Either he's already been traded, although I think they might have announced it by now, or it would have at least leaked. Other option is that they're deep in negotiations with one or two teams, and they really can't afford to have him hurt. But it is a bummer, given that 1,000th game celebration was tonight, and he didn't get to suit up for the game. Suited up for warm-ups, got to be in the pads, in the sweater for the presentation. Seemed like a nice presentation when I was able to watch it on Twitter after the fact, because the whole TNT thing, we don't need to go down that road. But, really happy for him reaching that milestone. It does mean a lot to him and his family, clearly, based on everything. That was a cool video with his dad narrating it, talking about all the stuff that not just the player, but the families around the player go through for it. It's really cool. Yeah, otherwise, from a Kraken standpoint, game was okay. Grubauer was pretty good for the most part. He did what he could with the team around him tonight. It's Tampa. They're just going to get you, especially if you take that many penalties against them. You cannot put the Lightning on power play as much as the Kraken did tonight and expect to win the game. That's the bottom line right there. Just not going to happen. So, with that, let's get on over to all of your comments. Quite a few in here already. Glad to see everybody. We're up to 29 viewers already. That's awesome. Hunter, that game was a wash. Let's talk about the return for the Yarncroke trade. Yeah, so very, very good return. Second round pick it's Florida's second round pick this year, third round pick next year, and then a seventh round pick in 2024. That's the return for Yarncroke from the Calgary Flames. RJ and I talked about potential trade destinations for him and Gio in the last deep dive from earlier this week, and we talked about potential maybe returns and stuff earlier today when the trade went down, but before we knew what it was. We were both texting each other, and we both independently came up with a second and a fourth would be the return that we would want. Like, that would be considered a good return for us. So this definitely beat that, which is awesome. I love this return. Also, on the deep dive, we had talked about the idea of trades happening within the division, because the bottom line is the Pacific Division is the toughest division right now as far as, being the tightest playoff race. And so we talked about, there's a good chance that a lot of the teams that make sense to trade for a Geo or a Yarncroke are in the specific division, and how do we feel about that? You know what I mean? And basically we both of the same mindset that the Kraken are out of it. If you get the best return from a team within the division and you're only giving up a rental, go ahead and do that. But it's a sad day wearing the boy Cali with the Iron Hook shirt. Really, sad to see him go. Really liked the kind of player he was, all the stuff that he brought to the Kraken. I think that he's going to be missed in the lineup for sure. I think he'll be missed around the building, and I know all of us are going to miss, having him around too, just because the energy that he played with and all the stuff that he did on, special teams and everything. He was just a really, really fun player. But the return is everything that you could hope for. To get that much back for him, we knew probably wasn't going to be a first rounder coming back. He's, He is what he is. He's more of a role player, a versatile role player for sure, and one that can be very valuable to a playoff bound team, but was not going to be a first rounder. So I think to get the second, get a third the following year, kind of spread out those draft picks, I think that was a really good deal by them. And it seems like everybody thinks that the Kraken really nailed the return. I'm very happy with it. I think Ron Francis did a great job. That's good. And then we got to see the Ben Sherratt deal going to Florida, and first and stuff going back to Montreal for him, which gives us kind of an idea of what the price is going to be for Gio. And I believe that first, though, is in 2023. So we'll see if the Kraken can get one this year or not. Either way, I think that'll be okay. We expect the Kraken to be more competitive next year. Their own first rounder is probably not going to be as high as it's going to end up being this year. So maybe it'd be okay to have another team's first rounder in the following draft. But we will see, especially with Gio being held out of the lineup. It's gonna definitely be interesting. Michael, that went exactly like I thought it would. Unfortunately for me too. I think with the trade of Yarncroke earlier in the day, with holding Gio out of the lineup, I think the Kraken actually did a very, very good job of being in this game as much as they were, because that is a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes all on one day. Your first game back, you've got the celebration for Gio getting to 1,000 games, all of that going on. I think Hackstall did a good job of keeping the players present and engaged with this one. They get the opening goal. Gord gets it. Obviously, you could tell how fired up he was to play this game against his former team. But, at the end of the day, A, you're playing a better team. Tampa Bay is just a better team than the Kraken, and B, you've got all that other, all those other emotions and everything going on with the Kraken as well. It makes sense why that it ended up the way it did. Striatic, that was a somewhat entertaining penalty kill game. Yeah, there was a lot of PK time out there. To varying degrees of success for the Kraken on this one. But, it is what it is. As we were just kind of talking about it, it is what it is. Lindsay, obligatory. At least it wasn't a shutout this time. That is true. We got that one. And how about that shot from Gord to score that goal? I tweeted it out. That's where I want to see Gord on the power play more so than where he's been way up at the top of the faceoff circle. He has a very good shot. He's got a good release. He's got very, very good accuracy. He can score 5-hole. He can score 6-7-hole under the arm, right? But he doesn't have the power. He's not shooting 95 the way Victor Hedman was, right? That's just the bottom line. He just doesn't have that. So he's got to be a little bit closer. He just doesn't have the oomph to get it in from as far back as he's been liking to set up. I mean, we've seen it happen a couple times. But I think if he sets up there more regularly, we'll see it a lot more frequently, and it'll help out the power play a lot. But I do like having him kind of be the point man, the trigger man, I should say, on the power play, because I think he does have a very, very good and accurate shot there. Striatic, therapy. It is an Emerald City therapy night, especially with the loss of Yarncroke. It's a bummer. Gregory, I like what we got for Yarncroke. Hopefully we get a first for Gio. I think that was kind of established with the Sherratt deal. Like I said, it'll be interesting to see if it's a first this year or not. I think that's going to be very interesting to see, because we've seen a lot of deals now done with future draft picks involved from around the league. So that'll be something interesting to look out for. Sergeant Pickles, studs, Lind, Grubauer, Borgen. Pretty decent studs list there from you, Sergeant Pickles, tonight. I did think Cole Lind played a very good game. Grubauer was good. Like I said, there was just times where what is he supposed to do? And Borgen back in the lineup with Gio out, doing his thing. I mean, I've been very impressed with how physical Borgen has played so far this season, and just how passionate he is. I didn't really know he had that in him. So it's been fun to see, and I look forward to seeing him more frequently now that spots are opening up. And how about Hayden Fleury playing on the fourth line, guys? Playing winger on the fourth line. That was something I was really kind of I was trying to watch him. I really was. And it just, I don't know. He was just kind of a body. That being said, he's been out of the lineup and really in and out of the lineup all season long. And I don't know how much experience he has playing forward at all. So I think for just getting his feet wet, getting back in the lineup, all that kind of stuff, I think he did okay. But it was funny because you've all heard me talk about like his skating stride and everything throughout the course of the season. It was just kind of funny to watch him out there in the offensive zone. He did look like a little bit like a fish out of water from time to time there. But interesting experiment. Alex, refs need to put whistles down in these Bolts games. You would know, Alex, is that a pretty common occurrence for the Lightning? I could see it being. At the same time, though, right? Like for these nationally televised games, it's got to help the sport when you can watch some of the best, do it. I know it was, at the expense of the Kraken tonight, and we don't necessarily want that, but they're a very talented team, and it is fun to watch them do what they are able to do when they're all going. Tyler, I wasn't expecting a win, but I have to keep the tradition going. Ugh. Thanks, Tyler, for helping with the tradition. I do appreciate it. I do look forward to it. I hate the fact that it comes because we're losing so much, but it is a lot of fun for me. Ty, Evs leading the team in points at 29. Definitely showed it tonight. Oh, and minus points, I think, is what you mean. I tweeted about that too when RJ put out the clip of him kind of giving up on that first goal, I think it was. When he's back checking and he hits the Kraken blue line, his feet stop. It's like he's not allowed to take a stride, and he just coasts from there, and it just is that controller disconnected moment. And I don't know why we're seeing it so frequently, because he's obviously got the effort and the idea of getting back, because he's always put in these positions where he is the first forward to get back there. He's working hard through the neutral zone, all that stuff. It's just he hits that blue line and a switch flips, and it's just, that's it. He's just done at that point. And it's like if he just stays on him for just a little bit longer, maybe he can disrupt them enough that they can't get a clean look or a clean release on their shot or something, and maybe some of these goals are taken away. It's unfortunate. I don't know what that's about. Absurdly sane. Apparently the team is as sad about saying goodbye to Cali as we are. I really think they are. It's a hard thing. Every trade deadline. Hackstall talked about it earlier today. Got the clip of that up on the Twitter as well. RJ asked him about it and stuff, and the realities of being a player come trade deadline time, and everything that goes into it with your family and everything. It's just a lot, and it's a lot for your teammates too, because they're losing you, and they understand what you're going through, and in the back of their mind, there's always that thought of that could be me, right? So it is a lot. Like I said, I kind of give the guys a pass tonight, given not just the Yarncroke stuff, but the Geo stuff as well. Kraken Hawk, with trades and free agent signings, Seattle sports teams are rapidly changing this last week. That they are. The Kraken not quite doing the full fire sale that the Seahawks maybe are, but at the same time, we at least knew this was coming for the Kraken. It didn't quite catch us all by surprise the way the Hawks moves did, that's for sure. Stray Attic, Ev's also leading the team and not back checking. Look at me, Mr. Positivity. It's all right, Stray Attic. I think I just went into it enough for everybody. Sergeant Pickles, Duds, Boy Callie, Geo, and Hedman not being arrested for use of a deadly weapon. And how about him when he broke his stick and he just goes after, was it Geeky? I don't remember who it was. I think it was Morgan Geeky, and he just takes him out. Like, I don't need a stick to play. Like, I'll just use my body. I'm giant and I know how to use it, and it's he is very good, and that shot just looked unstoppable tonight, all night long. And you could see the miles per hour that TNT's got going on up on the the glass behind the goalie there, and it was just consistently mid 90s. And when you're mid 90s and you can place it, pinpoint accuracy into those top corners like that through traffic. That first one, Corey Perry, I know it's Corey Perry, but that screen he got on Grubauer, Kraken have to get somebody to clear him out in front of that crease, because you cannot. Grubauer literally had no chance. There was just no way for him to stop that puck. But yeah, Hedman, wild. Michael, Mariners, now the team we get to look forward to. The Mariners. Get it together, Kraken and Seahawks. That being said, there is a lot to look forward to with the Mariners, so it's not too bad. But yeah, certainly if you look, think back at the last, decade and a half, that is That is quite the statement to make about the state of Seattle sports at the moment. Lindsay, Victor Hedman taking down Morgan Geeky at the end there. Okay, it was him. When he didn't have a stick is child abuse. Poor Geeks, lol. It was really something because Geeky is no small man himself, right? We've talked about that. I think he's 6'3", he's over 200 pounds. He's not nothing. And for Hedman to just kind of manhandle him the way that he did, that was tough to see. Ty, on a brighter note, Lynn skated his butt off, and I was enjoying Fleury banging in front of the offensive net. Gord goal was nasty. Talent level's pretty evident tonight, sad face. Free Borgen, that is right. We got the free Borgen like we talked about earlier. A lot of that stuff I already touched on, Ty, but it was a good one. And yes, I do think Colin needs to be mentioned. He often gets overlooked, but really every game he's played this season, he has brought the energy and brought the effort. It's been really, really awesome, and I want him to get his first goal so bad. And he came very, very close tonight against Vasilevsky, and as they said on the broadcast, what a goalie to score on for your first NHL goal. That would have been really, really cool. Hunter, I still wonder why all of a sudden Ron Francis wanted to speed up the build. My guess is that STH or season ticket holders were mad about the resale value of tickets after our terrible record this year. So the Seattle Times 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, did put out a thing about that, about how, that's probably, they kind of put pressure on him, and it was not coincidence that I think it was the next day that Ron Francis had media availability and was addressing all of these things. That first time he had that media availability. And I do think that it has to do with the season ticket holders who were, when you bought season tickets, it wasn't just for this year. You had to buy at least 3 years. And I think for people, you can stomach it this year because it's the inaugural season, but you don't want to be like, oh, we're going to be rebuilding through all 3 of those years after I've already paid a premium for them. I understand that, and the unhappiness that would be there for season ticket holders in that situation. So I do think that is what's speeding things up. That being said, I think so far Ron Francis has handled it all very well. Got a good return for Yarncroke. We'll see what the return is for Gio. That first draft has been incredible with Riker Evans and, of course, Matty Beniers. So things are looking up for the team. It's going to be interesting to see what they do in free agency. I think as long as you don't blow it on a free agent where you either give him way too much term or way too much money, and I don't know that he'll do that. I think it'll be okay, and I think that the foundation that they're building, I mean, already the McCann extension, we've talked numerous times about how great that was from a term and cost perspective for the team moving forward. So I do think that Ron Francis is making the right moves, but yes, I do think the season ticket holder thing has been what's caused it to speed up. Kraken Hawk, if Gio goes, I nominate Yanni as the new captain. He has the drive and always seems to be coaching other players on the bench. He just seems like a natural leader. I agree with you. I really like Yanni and everything that he can bring. I think Gord was somebody that we had mentioned at the beginning of the season as being a potential captain, or as a captain in waiting, knowing that Gio was, last year of his contract this season, and this is well before everything happened. Once the season started, me and RJ talked about this, about how Gio be here for this year, maybe one more, maybe he re-signs for one more, but obviously 38, aging out, would be a nice short-term captain to see them through the inaugural season, and then Yanni Gord could come in and do that. I think Jordan Eberle is also going to be a name to watch. I think if they name a new captain, whether it be this year, I don't think it'll be this year, but next offseason, I think it's going to be either Gord or Eberle. Brian, hey folks, Ebbs and Schwartz, are they not trade fodder because of term or because there's simply too much film on them? Oof, Brian. I think Schwartz has a form of no trade clause in the contract he signed this season with them. I'm going to see if I can pull up Cap Friendly really quick and look it up. Otherwise, yeah, because of the term and cost on them and yes, their performance so far this season, they're not going to be trade bait for anybody. Usually at the trade deadline, everybody's looking for rentals. You'll see the trades of guys with term, especially term and money, the way they have, in the off season. That's when that happens. I'm looking at it now. Jaden Schwartz has a no move clause, so he definitely can't, and Eberle has a modified no trade clause. It's a 16 team no trade list, so half the league on Eberle. So that really, those are, one, you can't move at all, and the other is very limiting if you were to try to move him. Four Horsemen, Yanni captain, yes please. I think a lot of us would be very happy with that. Lindsay, what do you think of renowned Kraken left winger Hayden Fleury? Lol. Well, like I said, he did a decent job. He was disruptive in front of the net. And that's really all you could expect of the guy coming in, playing a position that he is clearly not too overly familiar with, and and given the lack of game action he has seen, I think he did a very good job. Wasn't too much to write home about though. Sergeant Pickles, I think no captain until next year when he goes. Can should get an A though. He probably will, and I agree. Sergeant Pickles as well. Any chance they could or should bring Callie back in the offseason? I don't know. I think that they could potentially. I don't know that he'll want to per se. I think it's going to depend on what the team is doing. I think they're pretty, they have a lot of forward depth, especially center wise. I really think they're just going to be looking to add a big time winger or two. I just really think that's where they're going to be at as far as the offseason plans. So I think they'd be looking at, as we've talked about before already, Forsberg, Johnny Gaudreau, Hurdle's now out of it, re-signing in San Jose today. But I just don't know that it'll work out between the two. That being said, it's entirely possible. And, maybe we'll get a good idea if Callie's family stays here, right? Which is something that, is not unusual when somebody is moved at the trade deadline, because you don't want to disrupt things with the kids and everything. You know what I mean? Like pull them out mid-year at school to move countries. It's a lot, knowing that you're probably not going to be in Calgary long term. So yeah, I think that could be something that's foreshadowing if, the family really likes it in Seattle and they stay here while he goes for the next, month or two. That might give us an indication. Reading ID Ron the Builder 1 for 1. That is right. He's killing it so far. Really 2 for 2 if you count that McCann extension. So really happy. Ty. So do we keep Fleury as a winger or bring up an AHLer? To me, it's Fleury all day. Camp in front of the net and cause trouble. Get him a few practices playing as a forward and see what happens. Yes, the other thing was Carson Kuhlman, I believe, was practice this morning without the no contact jersey. So it's possible Kuhlman could be coming back sooner rather than later. So they might want to just leave that roster spot open for him rather than call somebody up. So yes, maybe we see Fleury for another week or so while Kuhlman gets fully healthy. I think that's something that could happen. And yeah, why not? Give it a chance. Like I said, he was not bad tonight at all. He wasn't bad. It's just, you could tell, new experience for him. Aaron was at the game tonight. Can't even be angry. Tampa is what every organization should strive for. I agree. All the work that Steve Yzerman did as GM there, and then Julien Brisebois now, fantastic. They are just killing it. John Cooper as a coach, incredible coach. I think they are a model franchise. Kraken Hawk, for those new to hockey, how valuable are first and second round picks in the NHL? Is the return on investment on a 1 to 2 the same for, say, an NFL first or second round pick, or do they typically produce more compared to later round picks? I think they, compared to the NFL, I don't know that they necessarily produce more than later round picks. I would say an NFL third round pick probably hits way more than an NHL pick, but once you go rounds 4 through 7, you're talking about dart throws really at that point. Otherwise, the big thing that you're going to be looking at for the difference between like an NFL type situation and an NHL one is first, your first 2 picks in an NFL draft, you're expecting them to make an immediate difference for your franchise. In the NHL this year, Cole Sillinger was the only draft pick from the entire draft that has stuck around for more than 9 games. So, a lot of times you just don't see that many guys make the jump to the NHL immediately. I'd say probably on average it takes 2 to 3 years for most guys to get to the NHL. So in a lot of ways you are drafting for the future. You'll see guys at the top of the draft make that more immediate jump. I think this year was different because COVID. A lot of guys felt like, Matty Beniers talked about this, didn't feel like he had full opportunities to develop certain parts of his game, mainly his offensive, the offensive side of his game. He went back to school. Incredible what he's been able to do this year as far as boosting that. So I think, first and second round picks are very valuable. Just like in the NFL or in any sport, you want guys on entry level contracts because they are cheaper. You have the team control on them. They do not hit unrestricted free agency in the NHL until they turn 27 years old. So you're talking about essentially 9 years ish of team control over a player. So it's very important to have those higher picks. Make sure you hit on those higher picks. But the difference being, you might not expect a immediate return on that investment. It might take 2 to 3 years before you start seeing the fruits of those. So that's that. Aaron, and I have a hockey crush on Victor Hedman, and I don't care who knows it. It's pretty hard not to. Let's be real. Striatic. Johansson had a very strong first period. I thought maybe trying to showcase himself for a trade to a playoff team. He's the one that's really interesting. I don't think Blackwell will be traded. We've talked about this in the past. I think he's missed too much time and stuff, and I think that the Kraken really enjoy having him around. I think given the chemistry he's had with Mason Appleton and Yanni Gourde, you're looking at that and saying that is a line that we can build and carry with us forward. So I don't think Blackwell would be out there. Johansson is interesting, though, because I just don't know that there has been enough that a team would want to give up really anything for him. Maybe they'd give up like a mid to late round pick, but then it begs the question of, is it worth it for you, Ron Francis, to make that trade? On one hand, yes, you're getting something back for the player. On the other hand, you're showcasing to the NHL that everybody's just kind of available all the time, and that you'll just kind of take, peanuts for them, so to speak. And you don't necessarily want to do that from a future negotiation standpoint. And you don't want to send that message to the locker room either, that like you just don't value guys that much. So I just don't think Johansson has played well enough this year to get, a Yarncroke type return. So I just don't think we're going to see a deal from him. But it's possible that, yes, he's thinking about it. I don't know. I can't say. I can't speak for him. Ty, I'm fine with JoJo on the bye-bye. He's minus 23 second to Evs. Hey, plus minuses and everything, Ty. We've talked about this. Lindsay, only 20 games left in the season. Where did the time go? I swear I was watching the home opener versus Vancouver just the other day. It has been truly incredible, hasn't it? It's just flying by right now, and it's been so much fun. We've talked about it so many times already, right? It's been such a fun journey with everybody, yeah, just been having so much fun doing it. And yeah, it's unfortunate almost that there's only 20 games left, because I love doing this with everybody so much. All right, RJ is ready to join us after the press conference. Going to be interesting to hear kind of what's said after the Yarncroke and Geo stuff from earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and load him in here real quick. I will be right back with y'all with RJ. All right, RJ, thanks for joining us. Kind of a so-so game for the Kraken, but boy, lots and lots of news today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the most impactful days in Kraken franchise history so far. Obviously had the game, but then the Yarncroke trade, that was a big one, and then Mark Giordano hitting the 1,000, having the celebration for 1,000 games. That was really cool to see. I'm sure you've probably talked about all that already, but yeah, a very just eventful day. Lots going on.
Yeah, we've kind of touched on, I think, just about everything at this point so far. Got Elias here. What's the latest Beniers would be available to be on the ice for the Kraken? Just got my first Kraken game tickets for the 16th, or for prom 16th, and I think it'll be close to his debut if he plays this year. I'm assuming April 16th. He would be, let's see, the 9th is the latest that the NCAA season could go. So if he signs shortly after that, he could be out there for the 16th.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a possibility. Certainly, I think if he signs this season, he will be signed by the 16th. Whether they feel that he's ready to get into a game or not, that's another question.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, I think they'll want to get him in as many games as they can.
Exactly, and Ron Francis hinted at that too. He said, if we sign him, we're going to play him. We're going to try and get him in as many games as we can.
Yeah. Hunter, are you guys going to do a trade deadline stream next week? So we've been meaning to talk about this, RJ. Should we just talk about it live in front of everybody? We did one last year and it went really well.
That's right. We did do it last year. Actually, it did go. It feels like so long ago. I almost forgot. But yeah, we do need to talk about this. Let's see. It's Monday, right?
It is Monday. There's no game on Monday, so we should be able to, I think.
Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Right, and they're on the road the next day. That's Tuesday because that's our next Patreon live stream game. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think we could probably do something like that, Hunter.
Yeah, hopefully all the trades aren't made by then.
Yeah.
Hey, but if they are, we can talk about them.
Exactly, it'll give us something to talk about. I thought about one option we could do is do like a live stream for the podcast too, like just make it the deep dive. Like a live deep dive thing. That could be kind of interesting.
That would be interesting, yeah. Recorded live during the trade deadline.
Yeah. Lindsay, I feel like you could fill the entire hour just trying to whiteboard out everything that's happened during that scramble circus of a goal to start the third. Lol, what a wild sequence. There was a couple of those in this game, RJ, but that one was especially, crazy.
Yeah, that one took the cake. I mean, that's probably the most chaotic goal that we've seen. I mean, Hackstall, even after the game, described it as mass chaos in our crease during the post-game, media availability. And when a coach is talking about it like that, it's a crazy play.
The only thing I could think of, like what I said out loud was, I was like, it's like the puck is like yo-yoing to the crease. Like it was just drawn to the crease, whether it was magnets, whatever it was, it wanted to be in that blue paint. It was doing everything in its power to get there. And just unfortunate that the Lightning just seemingly had endless bodies to come in and take a shot on that one.
Yep.
But how about that from the goal cam of when Grubauer goes to make the save and he just kind of just slides and just keeps sliding.
Just keeps going. That's ice. Ice is slippery.
That it is. Sarada, Kraken were able to pressure in the neutral zone and generate a bunch of odd man rushes in the first half of the game, but just could not cash in. Very frustrating given the quality of some of the rushes. No, I thought they did a really good job hanging in there with Tampa for as long as they did.
They did. I agree. And I'm glad you thought the same because, I think I said this in the second intermission, they're going toe to toe with the Cup champs. Mm-hmm. And I think Hackstall described it after the game. He said, we were a bounce away from a tie game going into the third. And he's absolutely right about that. And, they hung with them. It's just, you put Tampa on the power play enough times, you let that talent go to work. It's going to overwhelm you. Even the best of teams, it's going to overwhelm eventually.
Mm-hmm. It is. And the other thing that I thought too was I was very impressed with how composed the Kraken were and how present they were for this game, given the events of earlier in the day, because that obviously, had to have been a big emotional thing for them.
Exactly.
Sergeant Pickles, I'm actually excited to see guys like Borgen and Lynn get a real shot with other guys traded. I am too. Again, another great game for Cole Lynn. That goal is going to happen, RJ.
I know. He's so close. He will get it, though.
Yeah, and Striatic pointing out no goalie kiss tonight. Sad face.
I know.
Grizza Smash. I remember the Habs doing the same thing for Kale, putting him in either forward or defense. What did you think of Hayden Fleury tonight?
He had a rough game, and I don't blame him. And Hackstall even mentioned that's a really tough spot to be put in. He practiced there once, for one practice a couple weeks ago. He practiced at wing, but no one thought anything of it. It's just a real tough spot. And he was asked kind of why they chose to go with him as a wing rather than a 7D. And, he said, really, we didn't have a need for 7D, with the 60 and playing how they do. And I agree with him, too. Like, you really don't need a 7D, given who the 6 are. But, yeah, I'd say he looked a little bit out of place, but I certainly don't hold that against him in the slightest.
No, I said he had a pretty decent game, all things considered. Like he was, he was kind of making a difference in front of the net. I think if you give him a little coaching.
That battle, especially like in the third, I liked watching that.
Yeah. If he gets coached up a little bit there, I think it could be something that they could use. Absurdly Sane. So is the assumption that we've seen Gio play his last game in a Kraken sweater? Absolutely has to be. If he missed this
Yes,
game after
100%.
that celebration, there's no way.
Yeah, 100%. Gio's played his last game as a Kraken.
Yeah, and I do think that if he'd already been traded by now, it would have leaked.
Agreed. Agreed. So I don't think a deal is necessarily in place right now, but it's coming.
Yeah, negotiations are far enough along with a team or two that they knew they could not afford to get him hurt. Um, let's see. We got Paul. After 2 periods, I thought we were competitive tonight. The bumbly goal that ushered in the third period kind of put a little disbelief in our sails. Good to see us battle against a dominant team. Agreed. Like I said, coming off the day they were having, I thought this was a great effort, and to get on the board first, all that stuff, it was really good.
Exactly. And I will say that goal at the start of the third was a killer. And Jordan Eberle after the game mentioned that too. He said, we kind of let go after that one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hackstall agreed. He said that's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's just that's a tough one.
It is. Some more love for Yanni there, for McLutz, and then Ty. Gord can't become captain this year because we would all have to change our jerseys, lol. Next year with no inaugural patch, I'm down for a C. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Everly or Gord, moving forward.
I know. Yeah, I got to think those are the two favorites. And I think it'll just be really interesting. I'm looking forward to really looking forward to covering next year's training camp. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot to watch for. Another captain battle, all the prospects coming in. Going to be a fun time.
Yep. Reading ID, speaking of family, happy for Callie to go play with his cousin, I guess. Looking forward to my first game at Climate Pledge Arena for that April 9th Flames game. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one to go to. And yes,
oh yeah,
his cousin, Elias Lindholm, plays for the Flames, going to reunite with him. And apparently Jacob Markstrom. All from the same little town up there in Sweden. They all grew up playing together.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know Markstrom was from there too.
Yeah. I'm spacing on the name of it, but they practice in the off season and stuff together all back home. So good that's for great. Him to have some nice friends and family to go to there. Let's see. McLutz, I want to see Fleury play more often. I think we're going to get it now, especially once the Geo trade goes through. Valentina, I wanted to get a pic of both big rigs on the ice at the same time for the novelty value. I got one, but it's not pretty through the net. That would be a fun one to get.
Oh, yeah.
Besides Gio, do we have any other players who are maybe UFAs or RFAs who may be traded? At this point, I think it's just Gio. We've talked about this a couple times, but I think Yarncroak and Gio are the only ones with enough value to make a deal happen.
Agreed. I mean, the other UFAs, Blackwell, Shan, they're out there. I'd say Shan may be the most likely of the others, but you don't want to move Blackwell given what he's done recently. And I don't know the teams would pay enough for Shan to make it worth the Kraken's while.
Right. And I talked about this with Johansson earlier. You don't want to just take basically nothing for him because it sends a bad message to your guys and the rest of the league. So I just don't think that there's enough there for Shan or Johansson. Alex, Johansson is an all right player. With that said, he's not exceptional and eminently replaceable. Yeah, kind of. I mean,
as far as whether they bring him back for next season, that's
a conversation. Yeah.
And if you can get a mid-round pick for him, I might actually consider that. Shahan and Blackwell, given what they do on the PK, and you're probably going to need that going forward. Yeah. I think it's pretty indispensable for the rest of the season.
Right, and we've talked about Shahan. They're going to have a lot of centers next year with Beniers coming in. I don't know that he's going to be around for next season, but you got to lock up Blackwell and keep him with Gord. Like, it just has to happen.
100%.
Valentina, Frank Saravelli had Donskoy on his trade bait list. Yeah, we've talked about him. That one could happen. I don't know that it's going to happen, though, in this last week, given that he's got the extra year term after this.
Yeah, that's the tough one, is that teams really have to think about how they can fit him in, not just for this season, but next. And it creates a whole bunch of problems there where you have to forecast out. And I think that combined with how he's played this season is going to be enough to give teams pause.
Yes. Exactly. And then Lindsay, new RJ bumper, lol, love the Pong bouncing RJ head. Alex, new loading screen, Stratic, haha, RJ Pong. Yes, got the new loading screen in here. Lindsay asking, RJ, are you dizzy after all that bouncing around on the loading screen?
a little bit, but I think I've gained my composure back. We're all good.
Yeah, I mean, as Stratic pointed out, the RJ Pog was just getting intense. Yes, I was trying to let it go through to the end
Trying to let it
before,
ride a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
before I brought you in. But yes, it does pick up quite a bit of pace there at the end. Um, Ty, look at that no mask on RJ. Nice to see people's faces. I did hear the crowd tonight, but Tampa kind of shut that one down. Yeah, the crowd. You said it earlier in the tweet. Crowd was loud tonight.
Yeah, it was very interesting, actually. The crowd was way louder than usual, like just to start the game, the baseline energy of everyone. And I think it might have been the Geo ceremony. It might be, again, this is the first game, as you pointed out, without the masks, without the mandates, all that stuff. And, as much as, the masks, help for, protection, all that, like, they do kind of muffle some noise. Like, it's just the fact of kind of how they work. And I think the crowd was definitely louder for whatever reason today. Although it really tailed off in the third, I've got to say. It emptied out faster than maybe any other game I've seen once it became, 3-1, 4-1 Lightning. And then it was, like, almost dead silent toward the end.
That is a little
actually, except some boos, actually, as the final seconds ran off the clock.
I don't know.
Which, for this game, I don't get that.
I don't get that either. I don't think that's necessary for this one. You're playing a good team. Everything else that happened today, they don't need that.
But it was definitely noticeable.
Yeah, Hunter, what would you prefer for Geo? A first round pick and nothing else, or a second round pick and a prospect? It would depend on the prospect, I guess. But otherwise, I like kind of having my destiny in my own hands. I'd take the first rounder.
Agreed. Yeah, I think probably a first rounder. Again, depends who the prospect is. Hate to sound too Ron Francis-y. Well, it depends on who the guy is.
Yeah.
But it really does, But in general, I'd say take the first rounder.
Especially after, what a great job the Kraken did with that first draft. I'd trust my scouts if I'm Ron Francis at this point.
Exactly.
Ty, that mess of a goal has to make dangles. Dang it. There's some 10 the goal in there and bodies everywhere. Not sure we have had one yet. Lars might take the first for last game though. Oh, that one was that's gonna for sure be there. Right? It has to be there, yes. And then Ty Fleury figured out net front in the third. Yeah, like I said, he was getting there a little bit.
Yeah.
Lindsay, any plans for the next ECH meetup? Maybe a public skate or something at the community Iceplex? We could use our collective hockey knowledge to clean up at the 32 bar and girls trivia nights. That would be fun. We're working on.
Ooh, I like that idea.
I know. I was gonna say. I
like that idea.
I'm working on travel plans, like hoping to have them kind of finalized tomorrow, to get up there before the season's over. Okay. Yes. So.
News to me too. Cool.
I know. I haven't had the time to talk to you with everything else going on today, but yes, we are going to do some form of ECH meetup before the season is over. It'll probably be though the second half of April, towards the end of the year there. Let's see. Alex Blackwell is likely re-signed for sure. Let's see, where else are we? Oh gosh, I gotta remember which vowel sounds there are in Swedish, because people are giving me the town name that Yarncroak's from. Let's see. This isn't the one, right? Because that's the open thing on top of the A. That's Vol. Oh, God, it's been forever. Help me out, Absurdly Sane. I know you know this. I think it would be Guval. Vul, I think, if I'm remembering right. Gosh, it's been a decade since I was in high school taking Swedish. McLutz, I want Blackwell to be re-signed in the offseason. He should be a priority with maybe Donato. Oh, Donato number one priority now that McCann's done. Donato, get that one
sure. Done. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Alex Donskoy is an off-season trade. I could see that happen.
Agreed. I think the market for him is going to be a lot bigger in the offseason also.
Mm-hmm. Absurdly Sane, Yarncrook's from Vol, which is where the Christmas goat gets set on fire every Christmas. I hope it's not a live goat.
Yeah, that would be bad, but interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
You guys coming in clutch with all the information. Like, this is awesome. Way to go, chat.
Yeah. Let's see. Ty Donato over Blackwell, full season versus recent success. Agreed. Reading idea, look forward to many years of Blackwell falling down here and there and everywhere. Hashtag the beautiful game. We had him go down earlier. I mean, he was tripped in the first period of this one, but, it was still nice to see.
Well, and on that chaos play in front of the net,
Yes,
of course,
he
it's
made a
Blackwell
save.
scrambling.
Made a
He
save
did.
with the side
He
of his
did.
shin there. Yeah, kind of
Yep.
his cat, his calf. Let's see. Reading ID. How long will refs continue to call tripping penalties against Blackwell? Though someday they gotta be on to him. This one was legitimate. This one was legitimate. The Alexiak one, the
Oh
Kaloran
yeah.
Alexiak one. I was really surprised they called that, considering Alexiak's acting job was pretty poor when the Kaloran's stick hits his right skate and he throws his left skate up into the air like it's been taken out from under him and he goes down. I'm like, dude, you gotta at least get the right skate.
I know. I was saying there. I was watching the replay. Like, there is nothing there. It was an even up call, right?
Yeah, it had to be. It had to be.
Because they had just called one on the Kraken, so that evened it up 4-on-4.
Yeah.
I forget what the penalty was before it though.
Was that
it was the Perry Borgen one.
Yes.
It was where.
Yes. Which, yeah, I was surprised they called the penalty. Like, it's Corey Perry. The refs know that. It just happens. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens.
Yep.
Ty, share the date. I'll come up. I will. Ty, I'll let you know when I know. Lindsay, plug the merch. Smash the like. Yes. Talked about it. Retiring the Boy Cali shirt today. That being said, got plenty of other great merch in the link description below. And yes, only 26 likes, 44 people in here. So we can do better than that, everybody. Valentina, it felt to me like the boos were just because the Kraken gave up and Dunn was just holding the puck. All right, I could see that, kind of. I mean, you're down by 3. You're not going to make anything really happen in like the last 10 seconds there, but I get that.
Yeah, and that was what was going on. Dunn was just holding it back there, so maybe that was it.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, so Absurdly Saying, here we go. That A is a bit like the A in cat. Okay, so I mixed up the A's then. Yovla is about as close as I can get to phonetic for English. I appreciate that. Yes, I'm gonna talk with you on Twitter, because I could never get when the certain consonants made different sounds, like the K's making the sh's and stuff. Like I always had a hard time with the grammar of when certain things happen. So expect a tweet from me in the next day or so. Absurdly Sane. You could help me out. Alex, your high school offered Swedish. I was homeschooled, so yes. It's a straw goat. All right, there we go. Glad to get that one in there. Let's see. OMG, you should have Alexiak on the podcast, because that sure was a deep dive. Lindsay coming in clutch late in the post game live there. McLux, I follow you on Twitter, but this is my first post game show. Welcome. Hope you're having a good time. What section of the press box do you usually sit in, RJ?
Okay, I'm around the Kraken shoot twice blue line, basically. So the road team bench, right up from their blue line. That's where I am pretty much every game. So yeah, if you look for me, I'll be there. We've had a few, fans who've kind of like, taken pictures or spotted me. That's where I'll be. And thanks for joining us too. Hopefully the trailer worked. That we kind of put out little teaser video on Twitter today. Hopefully you like that. Hopefully you're having a good time.
Yeah, that was actually from D. Jewel Rich, but yeah, that's also a newish name. Ty, someone put Dunn in the film room and show him he can do it. He has lost himself the past few games. He has. I was hoping he was going to get it back for this one. I was hoping it was just the end of a road game. Wasn't.
Yeah, it was. I mean,
the pass that he made to set up that first Lightning goal, that whole situation was.
It was into nowhere. It was a panic play. That's really all there was to it. And yeah, he's just been off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Where was I now? A bunch of things came in. The badunts from Alex. The thing. Lindsay, speaking of Swedish pronunciation, Leafs' new breakout star goalie. Cool. He's tripping up announcers everywhere. Shelgren pronunciation. You're not alone, Dylan. Yeah, so he's one of the show ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Shelgren.
Yeah. Shelgren. Yeah.
Yeah. But see, but then there's the Carlsons of the world, then there's places like Linköping. So
yeah, Linköping. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I said, I could never get that one down. Again, I just had Rosetta Stone. I didn't have a teacher, so it wasn't easy to to figure out like the grammar rules. You're just kind of, repeating sounds, and obviously over a decade that just goes away. Striatic, I hope Blackwell signs, but I'd hate to see him leave for nothing. Donato is an RFA, so the signing can wait. But Blackwell, wouldn't he get at least a little UFA interest? He might, but there's still going to be a window before he's allowed to talk to other teams that you could get a deal done.
Yeah, and I think it should be important to get something done in that window, because I do think there would be some interest from other teams. Hopefully, I mean, if they've done their scouting, there should be.
Yeah. McLux, I like RJ's walking reports out when he's leaving CPA. Yeah, those are good. All this kind of stuff. And then Alex, team identity nowhere to be found. I don't know. We've talked all year about what this identity is. We haven't been able to figure it out quite yet.
Yep.
Ty talk about how you can spot RJ up there. He's got some photos of you. This is a good therapy session, much needed today. This is from McLutz. It's a good therapy session, much needed today with the trade announcement just before the game. Yeah, I think this one's been pretty good today. Ty, it's always a good time. It is Valentina. We were the first two dang it's from that Canucks game where 6 guys were fighting for the puck that was 30 feet down the ice. Yes, we were involved in that one. Wins are a riot in here from Ty. Yes, they're just few and far between, unfortunately. Absurdly saying, I'll explain the changing consonants to you, Dylan. Depends on the vowel that comes after them. All right. I mean, I knew it had to be some sort of, before or after the consonant that sets it up. And then Alex, Dylan's favorite player, definitely Oliver Shillington. Yes. There's a Shillington.
You were talking about so much, at the draft.
Yeah.
At the draft that year,
because he was
good. You knew how it was pronounced too.
I did. I remember people were surprised when I think it was Brian Burke who went up and made the pick and pronounced it the correct way, and I think because many people were calling him Kylington.
I remember, at the draft,
like
everyone was, and you're like, no, it's Shillington, guys.
Yes. It's just one of those things. And Striatic, Philip Broberg on the Oilers. Some people pronounce it like Broberry. Swedish pronunciations can be weird. I mean, it's just their language. It all is what it is. It's all the vowels and learning the 4 extra vowels. That's just what it comes down to, and what sounds go with them is the bottom line. And I obviously have not memorized them anymore. Let's see. And then Crack me up. Yes, thanks for the Emerald City therapy tonight. Feeling much better. Awesome. All right. We'll do a quick last call here. But RJ, anything you wanted to talk about? Do you want to talk about the Yarncroak trade? Or you didn't really get a chance to do that on here yet?
Yeah, I didn't. Actually, funny enough, I tried to just do a quick video, 2-minute video reaction to it. And I could not find a place here that was quiet enough right before the game to record it. So, we can, we'll get a more in-depth thing, obviously, once all the trades happen. But, the Yarncroak deal, I'm happy with it. I think it's a good return, better than what we thought, before the return came out. I texted you and I said, what would you be happy with here? What's your standard for success? And I think we both agreed it was a 2nd and a 4th. Yeah. So a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 7th beats that. Mm-hmm. That's definitely a better return. I think, given what the market is for bottom 6 forwards most years, this is, just a little mark above what those forwards tend to go for.
Yeah. What do you think of how they spread out all the draft picks? Like, I get having the 2nd and the 3rd, not wanting those in the same year, especially if you're Calgary, you already don't have your 1st and everything. What I found interesting, I forget who it was. I don't remember if it might have been Frank Saravelli who said that the 7th,
it was Saravelli, yeah,
that the 7th was just for the retaining of salary, which seems very low for that.
Right. Well, I've never seen it broken down like that either. Where someone says that this specific pick was for this specific action of the trade.
Yeah.
So that was kind of odd. I mean, I don't think that it was all that valuable, because you look at, I just can't imagine it was much of a deal breaker there where, Seattle would be insistent on not retaining anything. It doesn't really hurt them to retain that $1 million. No. But Calgary absolutely needed it. They've got like $100,000 of cap space left, almost nothing. So it was necessary for Calgary to do that deal. I mean, I guess if you can get another 7th out of it, good on you, Ron Francis, for negotiating that. I just don't think that would have made the deal go away. As for the spacing out of the draft picks, obviously you want one of the 2 seconds this year. That makes sense. The Flames did not have a 3rd this year, so the 3rd, if you want a 3rd, has to be either next year or the year after. And then the 7th is just, throw in the slightest of things to make the money work.
Uh,
But overall, I'm happy with it.
Do you think that's like a new NHL thing where they're gonna want for salary retention, like picks to be directly linked to that just for their own, bureaucracy?
Maybe I could see that maybe being a thing. I mean, there's clearly Saravalli, if he's tweeting that, heard that from somewhere, and probably somewhere important that maybe wanted to get that out.
Yeah.
That's why the 7th was involved. So maybe.
Let's see. Night Lindsay, Rule Rich. I've been collecting the inaugural season game pucks, but still lacking that ECH one. That is like the one piece of merchandise we didn't figure out, RJ.
I know the pucks. That's hard to do. Yeah.
Yep. Striatic, sad game, good stream. Love the post game hype video. Thanks, Striatic. Alex on the Yarncrook trade, second and third is way more than I was expecting. It was a good return. I really liked it.
Yep.
And hey, don't leave out that all important 7th 3 years from now. It's a big deal.
You never know.
Yep. Stratic, that third being a year later means we can use it when we're buyers at the deadline next year, which will totally help. That is true. That is a benefit of having the picks be pushed out another year or so. You get to use them as ammunition if you find yourself as a buyer. Ty, we're in the later half of March. Almost mascot time.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd hope so. Again, when I, kind of looked into the mascot thing in January and I heard it's not going to happen for a while, the rumblings I heard around were mid to late March. So hopefully we see that. If you're not going to do it then, you just don't do it this season at all. So I don't know. Let's hope there's something there.
Yeah. And then we'll leave it with newest addition to the ECH post game community, McLux. Okay, well, on the Cali thing, he goes from the bottom of the Pacific Division to the top of the division. That he does. And looking forward to being at the Red Wings game on Saturday. I hope you have a great time. That should be a fun game.
Oh yeah, for sure. Enjoy that one.
Yeah. That's a good one. And I lied. Reading ID with the good one here. Will we get ECH pucks or a mascot first?
Ooh.
Don't hold your breath on either.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I never want to say mascot for anything. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this one. For all the new people, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you join us next time. Do it after every single game, home and away. It's a lot of fun. And for everybody who's been with us through 62 of these now, thanks so much for the support. It's been really, really awesome. Only 20 games left, RJ.
I know. I'm ultimately sad about that.
Me too. It's crazy.
It's been good.
Yes, it has. It's been fun. All right. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, and we will see you next time.